Hello and welcome back to the Anarchy Garage, and today is going to be a bit of a how-to video because I'm going to be de-seaming the E-type, and the seam I am attacking is actually the roof gutters. So this is going to be a full how-to on how I'm going to get rid of these off our car. Now, if you are not aware of the E-type Revenge build, this started out as a render which we found online and completely fell in love with. Since then, we've purchased a 1971 E-type that we found in a scrapyard. Then we went out and purchased a brand new F-type from Jaguar with the 5-litre supercharged V8. Since then, we've fitted all of the suspension and running gear into our car, and it is now also on air ride and sat on West Forged wheels using Nankang tyres. Why then would you want to remove roof rails from a car or de-seam it? Now, a lot of this is about looks. So obviously, firstly, we are working to a render with this car, and we've also had to make quite a dramatic change with using a 2+2 over a Roadster, just because of the suspension and running gear that we've actually fitted into this car. So things like the roof rails, they gotta go. Now, the other thing with that is I love the look of classic cars with no roof rails, so I'm all for chopping these off. So what does a roof rail actually do for your car? These were actually on older cars. Firstly, because you could get all of the panels to meet here and it was easier for them to kind of join them together in a manufacturing process. The other thing is, when you've got rain or mildew on the roof, what it'll actually do is run off the sides because they've got these lovely curvatures on the roof. That means it'll drip on you, but also it can get into the interior as well. So what you've got to do when you're doing a roof rail is cut it off carefully and in sections. So what we're going to do is actually cut 4 to 6 intervals all the way along the roof rails. Then we will cut along the top and remove sections. The reason for that would be because there's a lot of strength in the roof here. If we go too hard at this, we can risk the entire integrity of the car. Now, this is why you don't see it done a lot. If you've got a classic Jaguar, do you really want to risk the entire integrity of a car for a modification like this? You might not, but we do, because we think it looks spectacular in the garage. So what I'm going to do is get my doors out of the way and let's start making some cuts. Hi guys, just a quick break in this month's episode to remind you that you can get your own Anarchy Garage merchandise on our eBay page. Just type in the Anarchy Garage and you will find us straight away, or the links are below on this episode. And we have just launched some new designs on our t-shirts and hoodies, so make sure you check them out. The first stage of actually de-seaming it then is done. So I've cut out sections all the way along, and then I've gone over it with a linisher as well to give me some nice clean metal underneath. Now you can see as well just how good this metal is now that the roof rails are gone. It's another reason why we chose this car, because everything that we're actually cutting off on it is also the bits that we don't need. So the roof rails being bad, we're back to good metal just underneath it, which is really cool. So what I'm going to do is actually get the welder and start working my way along. Now, this is where the time-consuming bit of this job comes in, because I can't just hammer a weld all the way along these sections. Because the roof is very easy to buckle with heat, I've got to do it in little bits all the way along. And I'm also going to be using an airline to actually cool welds down as quickly as possible before it does any damage to the roof. Again, this is another risk element of why it's not a common modification, because it's very easy to get wrong. So I'll get myself set up with the airline next to me and I can cool everything off while I work along. very first time then, the roof gutter is now off on my E-Type, and this might be the very first time you are seeing something like this as well, because I haven't actually seen this done on E-Type. I'm sure somebody else has done it, but it looks super cool. I'd definitely say visually, it almost looks like it has brought the roof down a bit more again. I almost feel like the roof rails kind of hold it up high, but now it ties in with all of the arches and the other panel work that I've done. So I'm going to have a quick tidy up and then I can crack on with the other side as well.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste.
That's the first stage of panel work done on the driver's side of the roof. So I've removed all of the chocks and now I can start to linish back and remove some of the paint and primer. Now, what I've seen with working on this is just how good this roof is. Honestly, it is amazing. There has been no earlier repairs on this roof. There's no pinholes, and also there are no dents in it either. So it is a spectacularly straight panel, which is great news. So what I'll be doing now is actually welding up all of the seams. I'll go and get the airline and start to cool down the welds as I go, same as I did on the passenger side. So now that the roof rails are all smoothed off and in primer, I'm going to be moving on to actually getting rid of the fuel filler cap. So not only does it need a major repair there, we will be using a bespoke filler which is going to be relocated as well. So firstly, I'm going to cut that out, make a stencil, get some steel, run it through the English wheel to get that curvature, and then we can start welding it in. So the fuel filler cap is now cut out of the rear quarter. So what I've done is actually transferred the piece I cut out onto a fresh piece of steel, and I've started working this through the English wheel. The reason I need to do that is not only does it curve across one way, it also curves the other, and this is a very difficult shape to get. So with the English wheel, it does both. So a bit of time and a bit of precision, this thing should fit in perfectly. So the fuel filler recess is all finished off, and I've blasted a little bit of primer over it as well just to keep it protected. So now I've moved over onto the driver's side, and I've actually got a little hole on the rear quarter as well, and that is where the aerial would have come out of. So I've made a little plate to go into it, and I'll get that tacked in as well. So the aerial is now removed then on the driver's side. So this car is looking spectacular. Having all of the rear quarters super smoothed off and without any interruption, it does look incredible. So in this episode, obviously you've seen the roof gutters go, you've seen the fuel filler and the aerial. So it's got this amazing look, which again is hinting towards the render that we're working to. Now in the next episode though, you're going to see something really, really strange. And that is because I'm going to be cutting the entire rear end off the car and converting it from a Series 3 into a Series 1 on the back end to make sure we're edging closer to the final design. But that'll be on the next episode of the Anarchy Garage. So for now, thanks for watching. See you next time.